would bet, as we're on sports betting radio, I would bet a lot of money that John does not like pina coladas. Let's bring our NFL Eagles insider in now, John McMullen. Follow John at JF McMullen on Twitter, PhillyVoice.com, SI.com, Birds365, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday to Friday, with Jody Mack. That's on Philly Voice streaming, as well as the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John, do you like pina coladas?
It wouldn't be my first choice for a drink, but if you're on the beach, I drink one.
Okay.
Probably in a but I'm going to go gin and tonic if I'm ordering a drink at a bar. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
You're not going to get a pina colada.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not a pina colada guy either. Even all right, let's stay with that family for a second, and I promise we're not going to spend more than a minute on this. I'm not getting a pina colada. If you have to get like a frozen drink, that's just, I think they're overrated. Maybe that's a hot take.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah.
You remember the show? You're probably too young. There was a sketch show called Kids in the Hall. One of the greatest comedy sketches of all time was called Girl Drink Drunk, where a guy would just get drunk, but it was always with, pina colada, but even more outrageous drinks with umbrellas in it, and it would take 10 minutes for the poor guy to get his drink going, to get his drunk. I am not doing it justice. Go to YouTube, look up Girl Drink Drunk.
Okay. I will have to do that. It sounds like it's worth your time. It seems like Nick Sirianni could be a pina colada guy, and we've talked plenty about Nick last night. As he's playing rock, paper, scissors, who knows? But any more that we want to add to that conversation? I mean, we went 30 minutes in depth from, him talking yesterday, but might as well just recap it real quick, or anything you want to add.
Well, I mean, my point pretty clear in my Philly Voice column ran this morning. Look, I think the guy is a breath of fresh air. I don't understand why such emotional fans and passionate fan base of Philadelphia, I don't understand why so many are so upset that they have an emotional coach who seems passionate. Now, again, to me, it means nothing as far as actual coaching. We'll see if he can coach. The good news there is that, Rob Motti, my friend, has gotten a few interviews with ex-Colts, Trey Burton, one of them, the ex-Eagle, for his AP podcast. But, they all speak very highly of him. So I don't think this guy's an idiot like some are portraying him as. He's got kind of a goofy, quirky personality, and obviously, a lot of people are going to take that the wrong way. But he'll be judged like every other coach, wins and losses. And from that standpoint, the odds are stacked against him because of where the Eagles are and what the expectations always are. But we'll see. I mean, he deserves a chance. No one knows. No one knows if he can take this job and run with it. But as I said, for the first time, I kind of realized why Jeffrey Lurie said, okay, this guy seems like he could be a head coach in this league. I didn't get that through the first two press conferences he had. I thought he was nervous in the first one. I thought he was a little bit better in the second one. But this one, he kind of, as I said, he kind of took over the virtual room. So you see, okay, I could buy this guy as a leader, and we'll see how it shakes out.
The NFL draft, 1 week from tonight, John. So here we are, 7 days away after what feels like an entire calendar year talking about this thing, man. And you must be more excited than anyone.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted every year at this time. And then you get to the actual process. But I'm just thrilled that we get through the silly season, as I like to call it, and all the nonsense and all the hyperbole. And you see how things will land. And, that part, the actual draft, is fun. Although I do wish it was only 2 days like it used to be. It used to be a Saturday and Sunday thing. Just as you get your juices flowing in that first round, and then boom, you got to stop and wait a whole nother day. But I mean, the NFL is very smart about these things. They do it for a reason. That's because they make a ton of money. They sell the rights, and obviously people are interested. So it is what it is. But, Ryan, I mean, you joke about it as well. I mean, the lead up to the draft and just it's become this giant industry on its own with so many draft sites and draft manuals and draft people. And there's a lot of bad information out there. I don't know how other way to say it. I mean, there's a lot of great people, but you know who they are, the Daniel Jeremiahs, Dane Brugler, Dan Shanka, those guys. But it's just too much.
Yeah, it's oversaturated might be the word. Just it is way too much. But you have to know where to look, and you have to know where to get your information. You have to take most things with a grain of salt. But regardless, we're at least in this 7-day window now, so it gets a little bit more exciting for me because it's now real and we're getting closer to the actual reality. And we've talked about everything, John. We've talked about the offensive lineman prospects that could realistically be there for the Eagles, the cornerbacks, the edge rushers. The list goes on and on. But I will ask you this. Outside of the quarterback position, who is a guy that you look at and you say, man, this guy could be, I don't want to say Hall of Famer because that's just dramatic, but a legitimate stud for a long time, and he could possibly be there for the Eagles?
I just had this discussion on Birds 365. I'm going to frame it like this because everybody's going to get upset by this. Obviously.
Yeah.
People are going to jump off the Walt Whitman Bridge if Jalen Waddle is there or Devontae Smith is there and the Eagles don't take him. And I do think one of the two will be there, depending on, sort of the flavor you like of the team that takes the other one earlier in the process. The cornerbacks, I think, Patrick Surtain is probably not going to be there. I think J.C. Horn might be there. I think he would be plan B for most Eagles fans. I think they'd be very upset if they passed on, say, Devontae Smith and then passed on J.C. Horn to take Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive lineman from Southern Cal. But this is how I framed it. And, I bring this up because Daniel Jeremiah was talking about him on his conference call earlier this week. He called him one of the cleanest prospects in the draft. He called him one of the safest prospects. You're going to plug him in. He's going to start for a decade. When we're talking about this draft 6 years from now, I don't. Devontae Smith might be a great player, and J.C. Horn might be a great player. But if you're going to tell me, guarantee one of the trio to make 3 Pro Bowls, say, I'm going to guarantee it's Vera Tucker. I'm going to guarantee it.
Wow.
And so, people, let's be honest, most fans only like skill positions. They want skill positions. They want quarterbacks. They want wide receivers. They want Kyle Pitts. Look, you're at the mercy of so many other things as a receiver. Starting with the quarterback, but also the offensive line. I mean, you saw it with this Eagles team. It's proof positive. When they're healthy up front, they were good. And they had the Lane Johnsons and Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelsey's, and Jason Peters was still playing at an acceptable level. They were a really good team. When it fell off the rails, they were a really bad team. It's not rocket science. And, we always go back to last year and say Justin Jefferson versus Jalen Reagor. Everybody's bringing that up again. Everybody's killing the old coaching staff because they wanted Jalen Reagor. Everybody's killing whomever for saying, Justin Jefferson would have been here and put 1,400 yards in his historic rookie season. I got news for you. If Justin Jefferson was here, he wasn't putting up those numbers. He wasn't.
Right.
Now, would he been better than Jack? Yeah, he would have been better. First of all, he would, if he stayed healthy, he would have been out there, number one. But, Kirk Cousins throws for 4,000 yards every year, going back to his time in Washington. He is a high-volume passer, number one. Number two, look at the other receiver on Minnesota, Adam Thielen. For the first half of the season, Jefferson never saw a double team because they have a legit other great receiver. He would have had none of that here. Obviously, Carson Wentz, the way he performed, was certainly not a high-volume throw. You don't have the other receiver who's going to take attention away from a rookie. And he had a poor offensive line play. He wasn't putting up those numbers here. So I think, I talk about vacuums a lot, and that's where people just, they focus on the vacuum and they say, oh, he had 1,400 yards here. He'd have 1,400 yards in another city, in every other city. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So that's point one. Point two is, okay, if you think Devontae Smith is a great player, and I think he's got a chance to be a great player, I'm a little concerned about 166 pounds, which I think is fair. But, we've seen other people succeed. So if you want to stipulate this guy's really talented, okay, then take it to the next level and think about the fit. So when you play 11 personnel in Philadelphia, who's going to be on the field? Devontae Smith at 166 pounds is going to be the X receiver. Now, for people who don't know, the X receiver would typically be Alshon Jeffrey when he was healthy and was playing at a high level. That's the big guy. That's the guy. That's the split end. That's the guy that's going to line up on the line of scrimmage and beat press coverage. Travis Fulgham, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, obviously, the backups, and they have to step up if they don't find somebody else. Jalen Reagor would be the Z, the more explosive receiver, the guy who lines up off the line of scrimmage so you can scheme them open. Then you have the slot, which I think they want to get Quez Watkins on the field, at least give him a chance, and because they need to increase the athleticism from Greg Ward. So let's say Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins. Well, I don't want to be Jalen Hurts trying to throw a back shoulder fade to convert a first down to one of those guys, a contested catch guy. But where's the scheme fit? I don't see it. I just don't see it.
And it's interesting because, and here's a positive. Here's something I've learned and adjusted my mindset with just from talking about this so much over the past month or so, maybe 2 months, however long it's been. At first, when the Eagles still had the 6th overall pick, John, I really felt strongly about the Eagles going and getting a weapon. And the more that you and I have talked this out and the more that I've read up on things and listened to a variety of people and yourself included, here's the bottom line. This Eagles team is not good. And this draft is not changing things. It's not like a microwavable draft here where they put the draft pick in the microwave and they become a Super Bowl contender. They have so many needs. They have so many issues that the wide receiver now, I completely agree with you and others who have said this from day one, the wide receiver position does not make sense, especially based off what they've done in recent years. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the way it could make sense if you say, okay, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, they're just much better, and they probably are. And then you say, when I just talked about fit and scheme, and then you say, okay, we got to move on from from Jalen Reagor. We got to get a different type of player so they can play Z. And, you know, whether it's Fulgham stepping up or JJ or somebody else, a different receiver, and then just shift things around to get a different skill set on the field. And you say, well, this guy's a better player, take the better player, you know, build upon the better players. But again, this has become, and I wrote about this on Sports Illustrated, this has become the annual tradition in Philadelphia. It can't be you can't take a premium pick at wide receiver every stinking single year. You had JJ in the second round at 57. Last year you had Jalen Reagor at 21. And, oh, by the way, you had two other picks, you know, later round picks. But nonetheless, you have doled out significant assets at this position. You also bring in a head coach who you see him talk about the position. That's what he played in college. He has a history coaching it as well. He's got a passion for it. You know, at some point, you got to develop some of these younger players. You can't just say, I'm taking wide receiver, I'm taking wide receiver, I'm taking wide receiver every stinking single year and ignore other positions, because you do have needs all over the board. And edge rusher is another one, because people say, well, you have Brandon Graham. Brandon's 33 years old. Now, he's still playing at a very high level. I think he will continue. I saw no evidence he's going to slow down. But you got to start thinking about the heir apparent. Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat, both. I mean, people know Derek. I don't think they realize Josh Sweat is on a contract year. Neither of them are under contract for next year. So what doesn't look like an obvious need right now could potentially become a really significant need next year if you don't do something at that position and get some value there. So I think Kwity Paye from Michigan is a legit contender to be picked at number 12 overall. And by the way, I don't even think he might get to 12. People say you shouldn't take him at 12. Well, the Giants might take him at 11. So, I mean, and we talked about cornerback. Cornerback is a significant need. Defensive tackle, they need another body, although it's not a good defensive tackle draft. You still need another safety probably, because you have an aging Rodney McLeod coming off at ACL. Anthony Harris is only here for a year, and you're in a difficult spot. Well, I think that signing was very cost-effective. I thought it was a very smart signing. Let's pretend Anthony Harris turns into the same player he was 2 years ago. Well, then you got a 30-year-old guy who you're going to have to pay significant money to keep on multiple years. It's a difficult decision to make. And we all know linebacker, how much they need help there. They need help everywhere. They need a complement at running back. Jordan Howard's not the answer. They need a quarterback. I mean, you can't just stop the world and say, let's keep picking receivers until we get this position right.
Right.
Because getting that position right involves so many other things. The most obvious, blocking, as I said, and then the vehicle, which is the quarterback, to get those receivers to football. So, hey, if you want to go best player and then figure it out, I understand that. And if the Eagles think Devontae Smith or Waddle, as I said, are the best players on the board, I'm not going to argue with them. But understand that's going to create unintended consequences. You're not going to throw one of those guys out there with Reagor and Watkins and have significant success. You're just not.
And let's keep in mind, and I want your thoughts here, John, the trade possibilities. And I'm not even saying the Eagles, but other teams trading on draft day before the Eagles pick. That could impact, obvious statement, who's available and who they end up taking. And I saw an article written by John Clayton, the professor, formerly of ESPN. I think he does radio work now out in Seattle. he had an article where he detailed 5 trade possibilities. And I'm just going to say them really quick. The Bears trading to 11 with the Giants for a quarterback. Washington trades to 8 for a quarterback. New England trades to number 7 or number 9. Denver trades to number 4. So all of those potentially and theoretically could happen in front of the Eagles, and that could impact, obviously, who's available. So if you want to comment on any of those or any other team that you can see trading up that will impact the Eagles' pick.
Yeah, I mean, most of those trades, any of those potential trades that you just mentioned would actually help the Eagles. From the Eagles' standpoint, your hope is that all 5 quarterbacks go in the first 11 picks if you're going to stay at 12. And then, in theory, you have the 7th best at worst, position player, and that's what they're looking towards. So the more quarterbacks, the better it is for the Eagles. At least if you can make the argument, which I've made, that they should be looking at quarterbacks. So that's that. But if you stipulated that's not the way they should go, if you stipulated, like so many fans, that they should be 100% behind Jalen Hurts, then that helps them. The more quarterbacks off the board. The worst case scenario is, Justin Fields, for instance, teams just found out that he needs to take medicine to control epilepsy. I don't think he's going to fall, but you never know. You never know how people take that kind of medical information. If he falls out of the top 12, that hurts. If Mac Jones, if the 49ers have been playing this sort of smoke and mirrors game, and they take Trey Lance, and he falls outside of the top 12, that would hurt. But teams going up to get quarterbacks, that only helps the Eagles.
Talking with John McMullen, our NFL Eagles insider, just like we do every night here on The Fix at 7:30. Follow John at JF McMullen. Philly Voice and SI.com is where you can find all of John's written work. And you mentioned Vera Tucker, and I posed the question, best potential NFL career who could be available. So I'm guessing you answered that with the assumption that Sewell's going to be long gone by the time 12 rolls around? Yeah. Okay.
And Slater as well. I mean, I would put Slater in that, Rashawn Slater in that category as well. I don't think those guys are going to be there. I think if either of them were, I think the Eagles would select them both. I don't even think Sewell, there's not even a modicum of a chance that he'll be there. Slater, you probably give about a 10% chance maybe. And I think they would take him. I don't think the Eagles are taking Vera Tucker, by the way, either. Mm-hmm. But I do think he would be the safest pick, the cleanest pick, as same thing Daniel Jeremiah said. I compared him to Zach Martin, not from a skill set standpoint, but from a versatility standpoint, because they had very similar careers in that Zach played left tackle at Notre Dame late in his career and became, I think, the 16th overall pick. But he didn't have the longest arms, so they projected him better inside. But I remember talking to personnel people in that draft, and they were saying, he can play anywhere, and you can plug him in. He can play left tackle, and he's going to hold up. And he can play left guard, right tackle, and he's going to play well, everything but center. And the Cowboys ultimately put him at right guard. I think we're at six-time All-Pro now. Not even Pro Bowl, All-Pro. 6-time All-Pro. And by the way, when they needed a left tackle, they moved him out to left tackle. That's how good he is. And then he got hurt. But I hear, and I hesitate because, again, it's very unlikely that any player ever develops into a 6-time All-Pro. So maybe that part isn't a fair comparison. But the versatility part is a fair comparison. He started out, Vera Tucker I'm talking about now, he started out as a guard at USC. Then he played left tackle last year, and he played really, really well at left tackle. And that's what NFL people were saying about Zach Martin. They're saying about Vera Tucker. He can play anywhere, even at left tackle. He's going to hold up. Maybe he's not going to be the all-pro, where they think if you move him inside, he's going to be a star. But he can play anywhere except center. So, again, you look at offensive line, similar to what I said about edge rusher. It doesn't look like an obvious need right now until you factor in the age and the injury history of Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks and Jason Kelsey. You know, we had Barrett Brooks on again on Birds 365 today, and he's been saying, Kelsey, and he's right. I mean, you see Kelsey behind the scenes. He's put together with chicken wire and fishing wire. I mean, this guy is just banged up and beat up, and he's always playing. Remember when he hyperextended his elbow? I thought his season was over. He's cursing on the sidelines, and boom, he goes in. It's like a play before the half. He goes into the locker room and comes out and plays the rest of the game. He might be the toughest guy in the world, but at some point that kind of stuff catches up to you. So what doesn't look like a need right now is going to become a significant need. And I know people are saying, well, Nate Herbig played well, and he did, and Jack Driscoll's got potential, and he does, and everybody loves Jordan Mailata. These guys are not Jason Kelsey type players, Brandon Brooks type players, Lane Johnson type players. Those are top 5 players at their position. That the ceiling of the Herbigs and the Driscolls and the Mailatas are not top 5 at their position. So there's a big difference. And you bring in somebody like Vera Tucker or Slater, you got a potential to have top 5 at their particular positions. Down the road, obviously.
Yeah. Last one here for you, John. With the draft getting underway essentially exactly 7 days from right now, 8 p.m. next Thursday, give me, as best you can, the most likely scenario that who the Eagles pick at 12. Give me a bold prediction with who the Eagles take at 12, and give me someone that you've heard linked or rumored to the Eagles that you would say, I don't like that, or you would deem that a bad pick, as best you can.
Well, it's tough to get a bad pick at 12. So the bad picks would be if they traded down again, which is a potential. I think the off-the-radar pick is Kwity Paye. I think there's a potential. Again, the Giants could take him at 11, but say somebody trades up with the Giants, so the Dave Gettleman intends to never go down, so that's unlikely. But I think he's the outside chance. I think the most likely player is J.C. Horn. I think, as I said, I think one of the Alabama receivers are going to be there, and Eagles fans are going to be very upset if they don't take him. As far as trading down, Christian Barmore, what I say, I think that would be a bad selection at 12. Barmore from Alabama.
Barmore?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listen, we're 7 days away, John. The light, we can finally see it at the end of the tunnel. So we're getting closer, and we're still going to talk about it here every step of the way. Tomorrow we'll end the week. We'll have some fun. Maybe we'll look at some of the updated odds that are out and available in the betting market, and continue to inform you on all the latest with the upcoming NFL draft with your Philadelphia Eagles. John McMullen every night at 7:30. Johnny Mack, I appreciate it, my friend, as always.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Yep, thank you. There he is, Johnny Mack. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
E-A-T-L-E-S, Jody Mack, the legendary sports talker, joins forces with NFL insider John McMullen. Start your morning with Johnny Mack and Jody Mack across the JAKIB Media Network.